Hello and welcome to the Nordic Takedown podcast, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast talking about nothing but Star Wars Unlimited and a little bit of Star Wars in general. So yeah, hi, I am Jason, the Captain Kirk, also known as Fun Daddy, and I'm here with Matt, also known as M3PO, which we only call you here. No one else knows you as anything else.
No one else does that. Yeah. You just did that, and I think you're running with it now.
Yeah, I did just do that.
But that's okay.
Yep, that's all good. That's fine. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome.
It's been a long day at work, but it's been a good day at work, so
yep,
it's nice.
I think you're working, and everyone else isn't working. I'm on holiday, so
indeed. Half my colleagues left Friday. It's very empty now.
Yeah. So you're the unlucky one, but at the same time
I get money. I like money.
But then you get money, which is great. So you can't complain about that. So
you can buy more Star Wars cards with money.
Yes, indeed. You can buy Star Wars cards and get great pulls, which is just insane.
Yes.
And we mentioned it last week. Like, you had the most insane opening, release opening. I could not believe it. You were not on my dining room table, but
I was not on your dining room table.
You were at the dining room table. It was me, Eric, and you, and it was just like dark saber after dark saber after dark saber, and it was depressing for us.
Hey, it's a hyperfoil, a hyperspace, and a normal darksaber in one box with two other legendaries, and then one pack in a different box with a hyperspace Kylo Ren and a foil Rey, and then obviously the Han Solo showcase.
And then the Han Solo showcase, yeah.
I think it was like a total of 14 legendaries in 3 boxes, which I would be happy with 14 legendaries on 4 boxes, so I'll take it.
Yeah. No, you did very well on that day, and but that was a really good release party we had anyway.
It was wonderful.
We mentioned it last week as well, but just to repeat, because it was crazy, we did a sealed box pool.
We did.
24 packs pool, and it was great. And you won. I think you.
I did?
Yeah, you won quite greatly.
I don't remember.
No, exactly. Anyway, what have we been doing this week? It's just you and I here this week. I will say. I know that the Norwegian Jonah is in Germany on a holiday with his family, and he has found a German weekly play event to go to.
Indeed.
Which was impressive. And Adam is just on holiday with his family. I think he wasn't available as well. So,
like half of my colleagues, everyone's on vacation.
Yeah, exactly. So these summer episodes, we'll do the best we can, but soon all 4 of us will be back. However, this week, in the last week since you last heard our voices, you and I have both attended a draft.
Indeed.
Drafting for the first time, drafting Shadows of the Galaxy for the first time. How was it for you?
I thought it was great. I mean, I think draft honestly is my favorite game mode in this game. Yeah. I really like Premiere as well, but drafting is amazing. I've always liked limited in most games, and or sealed events rather. And limited in this is not quite my cup of tea, but draft is just up there with what I want to be doing. And I think Shadows of the Galaxy actually manages to fix some of the issues I had with drafting in the first set in Spark, and it's just a great experience overall, mainly because there isn't, like, most of the power level is equal to itself. Like there are some spiky cards, but you're not going to have, like, every 4th player have an overwhelming barrage in their deck and then just be like, okay, so it's only them competing now. That's an overstatement. It's like they've toned down that kind of experience a lot, which I think is really good.
Which is interesting compared to what we were worried about with Rivals Fall becoming an issue. And I don't think it has been so much of an issue, because everyone's accepted it exists, maybe.
Yeah, and as I mentioned when I went on my way too long rant about Rivals Fall,
it was not too long. We could have given you an episode for that.
You could have given me an episode, but like my problem with the card isn't necessarily what it does; it's the design space it opens up for, with making leaders easier to kill, essentially. But in sealed, you probably will pick that card up if you can, and you can play it. Maybe even if you can't, just to remove a big threat. Yeah. But I mean, you do that with takedown as well in set 1, and so it's like whatever.
Yeah. And I realized how you deal with it. when I played against you, you just used Bazine Natal to look at your hand and discard it. It's great.
Just be yellow, be villainy yellow, and heat it.
Yep,
several
exactly.
times.
Yeah, a couple of sparks.
Bounce with McClunky, throw away something else funny, be a general nuisance, and maybe
just
somehow win. But
wait for that. Yeah. So what did you build last week?
What did I build last week? I built a Bosk, a blue Bosk. That was centered around the two bounty 1-drops, the red-black one that is a 2/3 with Saboteur, and the blue-black one that is a 1/4 with Grit, both with bounty draw card. Those two were really fun cards to play around with. And then I had some assorted other bounties. I had some, I had I don't really, the like 4/4 red 3 costs. Some fun stuff. But mainly it was the 1 costs and some just good cards.
Yeah, because we played in the second game of the night. We played against each other, and I before we go into this, I built a Cad Bane, green Cad Bane, because I did that on pre-release and I had experience with Cad Bane, so I thought, okay, this is a nice easy one. I had 3 McClunkies, 2 copies of the get 4+4 boost. Is it Glory? Moment of Glory?
Something like that.
I had a Salacious Crumb. I had a lot of basically just Underworld, everything that Cad Bane likes, and it was a pain in the ass for my opponents, as you said. And I won the first game, you won the second game. Won the really the thing, the 4/4 thing that had the bounty, and you can deal 2 damage. That was really really fun for me, because I could keep killing him and kill something else that you had as well. So I was so grateful that you put those out. But they were good games. I thought I could beat you. I thought I was so close to beat you, and I could have taken a 3-0.
I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I was feeling like I was losing all the way through, and then I was like, oh, wait, I guess I won now. Okay.
The second game I thought was very close, there's a technicality to this set, I think, with Shadows that goes beyond the technicality that there was in Spark. And I just couldn't get my head around some of the things, and I probably could have won that second game.
Probably.
However,
you had a way better deck than I.
I was really pleased with the deck that I was actually I drafted there, and I struggle with draft. I panic with, and I really struggled with that. But finally, I really just enjoyed it and got around there as well. So if you have a chance to, if there's any shops out there that have stock to draft Shadows of the Galaxy, get along to it, because it is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough that our LGS has decided to put away some boxes for that purpose. I'm looking forward to doing it more.
Yep.
I think it's a very interesting set as well because of that technicality, because especially with Bounty in the picture, you're no longer just drafting whichever card is the best in the pack. You're having to evaluate how much am I risking to give my opponent, which I think is really fun.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Bounties, I think I overused bounties when we did the release day stuff, but I still enjoyed using some bounty stuff in this. That was definitely recommend going into draft.
Absolutely.
So that's what we've done this week. Have you built any decks? Because last week Jonah and we discussed some of the decks that we're building. We haven't had a chance to chat to you. What are you exploring with? I mean, I'm guessing you're just going to leave Han Solo alone despite getting a showcase, and you're not going to even.
Not quite. As I've said, I've been working as well, so I haven't had that much time to mess around. But I have been playing a bit with Eric that we mentioned.
Yep.
And we've been playing a little bit just digitally.
Yep.
We haven't had the chance to meet up in person and play it since the draft, but we've played a bit digitally. And I have really been playing around with 3 different decks for 2 different heroes.
Okay.
Unsurprising to most, I've been playing a green Boba. Trying to see how I can, the old Boba then, the yellow villainy Boba, trying to see just how it can make the deck I already have better. And I've found some stuff that I like, I found stuff that I didn't like. I've kind of sort of stopped working on that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I've put most of my focus on yellow Boba, because that seems to be crazy now. And I made one version that was kind of more, I think, trying to do what Cad Bane is doing with pinging and bouncing and playing around with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really feel like it was working, so I started working on making it just a more early game heavy, hit people in the face lots of time until they're dead kind of deck. Also known, which I mean, I think we saw the 1K had one of those that was played last week.
True. Yeah.
There was 2 of them, the same deck, I think, made by the same person. In the top 8, it was a 30-person event. It's not saying much about the meta quite yet, but it's very similar to that.
Yeah, but that suits a little bit more what Boba, the leader.
Yeah,
does.
If you want to do because I like Lady Proxima and stuff like that, but if you're going to do that, just do Cad Bane, I feel like. But I tried. And then obviously I have been screwing around with Han Solo, the youngest of the Hans. What is this? His subtitle, Worth the Risk. That's it.
Yes.
On account of the getting the showcase, and I'm gonna be completely honest, deck building is not my strong suit, so I went to the internet. The internet is a great place to find things made by people smarter than me.
Yes.
And I stole the weird rampy Han that I think Jonah did a deck tech on together with Adam.
Yes, that's on our YouTube channel if you haven't found it yet.
Indeed. Go there, watch it. So I've been playing around with that. It's really fun. I have found some stuff I want to change with it. I am doing that. And I'm probably going to be making a more quote-unquote normal Han deck where I just play aggro. But I'm not as big of a fan of the aggro playstyle, I say, while making a yellow boba. But I think green boba is more my style there, but I'll see where I go with it. So I've been playing around with those 3 decks, seeing what I really want to be doing. Han will probably be more of a casual deck for me, when I might bring 2 weekly players and just screw around with. Whereas if we're getting into the store showdown and then qualifier games, like we're getting close to those seasons, I might bring out Boba and start practicing him more, essentially.
Yes. Yep.
That's where I am right now.
Yeah.
You never know what happens.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
There is no shame in net decking. I think that's my view. I think that's the view of most of us on this podcast. Yeah. I know some people frown at it, but there are smart people out there with a lot of time on their hands who want to build really good decks and make them public. So then we can enjoy that and enjoy the top level of the game with that. So net decking.
And we're all good at different things. I'm pretty good at just like rules on paper. I understand the game, how it works. Adam and Jonah are amazing at actually playing the game and like making the right decisions. Jonah is pretty good at building decks as well. Like we all have different strengths. So when it comes to this game, it's very different skill sets. I can make a perfectly viable deck fairly easily, but I'll probably not get to the point where I'm making the top type of decks without extensive effort.
Yep.
And I'd rather just let someone else do the job.
And that's why we have friends in the game. And I just let everyone build decks for me and do the best I can at playing them.
Yeah, same. No, not quite, but yeah.
There we go. Awesome. I've improved my Cad Bane. I took the Cad Bane I had last week because I thought it was coming onto something, and I tried to put more stuff in there, and I keep thinking, I've got no mauls in there. And hang on a second, Vostrite, and suddenly I've got like a 70 card deck. So it's again, I deck building is not my strong point, but it's fun to try stuff out as well. And that's the other good thing with draft is that you're forced to use things that you wouldn't necessarily build.
Yeah.
And so you find some other stuff
combos.
and combos sometimes bam, well, actually that's really, really strong. Maglunki into Natim Bazal or even Salacious Crumb and keep bouncing Salacious Crumb for 3 damage.
Yeah.
Is a lot of fun.
McClunky, Natine, and Evison in one deck was mean, and I don't like it. We shouldn't be doing that to people.
But for once in my life, I was on the oppressive side of one of these games, and that was all good. Excellent, cool. So that's kind of where we're at with this, with our Shadows experiences. Before we get onto the main subject, and the main subject is something I think you're going to want to stick around for, listener. We're going to be going through some of like the big rule mistakes that people make in the game and clarify exactly what the ruling is in these certain situations. Mattias here is going to be the head judge at the Malmo tournament, and so you've been reading up on the tournament rules and the comprehensive rules and studying up on those. And so this is kind of what you've put a lot of work into in the last week.
Yeah, I mean, learning the rules. I mean, I already know most of them. I've been updating a couple of things in my head because a lot of things in the rules make sense to me, and I just sort of go with that. And then I go like, hey, hang on a moment. Is this actually what's happening? And then I usually confirm that yes, it is by reading the rules. But sometimes that's not the case. So I've been just verifying a couple of things. But mainly we've been working with actually doing the structure for the event with the how the judges are going to be operating. So we've gone through that.
Yeah, no, of course, and it looks really really good as well. But you're in a place coming into this where you have been reading through a lot of this stuff as well. So we had the right person on the mics here. Before we do that, though, just a reminder that this episode is dropping on Thursday the 25th. By midnight tonight, if you're listening to this on Thursday the 25th, midnight tonight is the last moment that you can enter the competition for our Malmo Game Week Star Wars Unlimited Open ticket.
That's a mouthful.
That is a bit of a mouthful. All you have to do is so make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and comment on one of the last 3 episodes. Join our Discord, linked in the thing, and chat in the giveaway channel. And the third one is find us on Twitter, and that link is also in the show notes, and like our posts where we announce the episode. So those 3 mediums, and you'll be in the players draw, and then we will announce it on all of those mediums as well. We realised that we probably should have done it today as the deadline, so that we can record and say the winner and draw the winner on air. However, certain Englishmen didn't really think when planning this, so
thinking is hard.
It is sometimes. So we're gonna kind of do, and then we can obviously announce it live next week. But
but you'll be given ample time to book your everything's.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are still places left. There are still hotel rooms left, etc., etc. And I'm super excited for this event.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Right now, I'm kind of getting there earlier and earlier.
Whoops.
As we're going at the moment, I think we're going to be traveling on Wednesday. The way this is looking, but Malmo seems to be quite a nice place. So we can have a few days there.
Well, they did try to get me down on Thursday, but it's like I can't take another day off of work.
That
I need
work
money.
For me
Yeah.
Excellent. So that is the competition. That's how you enter. Enter, come and say hi to us. All 4 of us hosts will be there in some capacity or another. And hopefully,
even if you're not there to, even if you don't win the ticket, just buy one. It's great. Every time I've been talking to the organizers, he has some new crazy thing he's thinking of doing there, and it's it's going to be an amazing time for competing and just enjoying Star Wars together as a community.
Yeah. And it's a good chance to kind of prepare for the planetary qualifiers and all the qualifiers coming out in October as well. So this is the next big competition in the area. Great. Yeah. We talked about that. Let's get into the main subject: common mistakes on the rules. You have 30? Did you say?
No, that's the wrong way to say that. 13. I haven't gone quite
Sorry,
hard.
Yeah. No, lost interest. No, I knew it was 13. I was just trying to put some pressure on you there. I'm going to expect 30 different common mistakes here.
Look, I could probably dig them up, to be completely honest with you, but
there could be some more. But we're going to go through your list, and I may think of some to kind of go, okay, what is the space in there? If there, the list I can see. But I have not gone over this to see if there's anything I can add to it. But that's fine. I can put you on the spot. That's what we're good at.
That's great.
Yeah, excellent. So what is one of the first common mistake that you see people make, or you know that people make when playing Star Wars?
Yeah. So I'm going to be a bit of annoying to Jason because I haven't put these in order.
Fine.
But one of the rules I think I've seen asked about the most since Shadows dropped has been how TIE Phantom, the TIE it's Thai Phantom something. Thai something's a Phantom. The yellow 2/2 with raid and the effect that essentially says you can't kill or deal damage to this with
and
abilities.
I also cannot think of it. So we all suck here.
Hang on, I'm gonna use the internet. We are on computers.
We are so prepared for this, Mattias.
Yeah, we are very lurking Thai Phantom. That's what it's doing. It's lurking.
It's lurking, and that's why we couldn't think of it. It was lurking.
Indeed. As I said, it's a 3-cost 2/2 with raid 2 that says specifically this unit cannot be captured, damaged, or defeated by enemy card abilities. And I've seen a lot of people think that, well, if you're using, let's say, Overwhelming Barrage or True Strike True, or something that says a card deals damage to another card, that means, well, the card is, this is not the event doing the damage, thus it works. That's not the case, though.
No.
It's still a card ability, so you can't really sneak around this ability. You will not be using an ability to kill this, unless that ability gives it a minus in HP.
Mm-hmm.
You can kill the card by giving it minus 2 HP, such as make an opening that gives -2/-2.
Yes.
Which will bring it down to 0 HP because and the effect doesn't kill the card. The core rule that says when a card doesn't have HP, it immediately dies. Kills the card.
Yes.
So a lot of people want to find ways around to sneak about with it, but you're not doing that.
No.
The card will stay alive.
No, you need to fight it or affect its stats, basically.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that was something you had a lot of fun with in the draft as well.
I think I won the first game against you because of that unit.
I think you did like 20 something damage.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a really, really good 2-drop. Like, it's an amazing 2-drop. It's a 2-drop, right?
Indeed. Yeah, 3-drop.
It's a 3-drop. Okay, it's an amazing 3-drop then, which
is.
is great. If you're playing Han solo yellow, it's an amazing 2-drop, and then dies straight away.
No, it's an extra.
I'm just going to shut up here, and then we move on to the second one.
It's a villainy card. It's a villainy card, Jason. Don't do that.
Okay, it's an amazing 5-drop. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's move on with our lives. Yeah. So another thing that a lot of people have been a bit iffy about now that the new rules have been changed very slightly with the fact that leaders are deployed. They were deployed, but are considered to enter play when they are deployed.
Yes.
So people have been trying to find ways to make when you play a card, effects work together with them. But the sad truth is that you do not play the card. You deploy the card. It still enters and leaves play, but you're never playing it. And that's a bit of a weird one with the wording.
Yes.
They could have made those concepts not sound quite as close to each other, especially when it comes to maybe non-native English speakers trying to figure out what's going on with it. But yeah, nothing has really changed unless you're playing Boba or Mini Boba, essentially.
Yeah, exactly, and is very like the card is the cards on the board are in play, and so in a way it's. I heard a really good thing is that you're using and it's already like on the board, and you're using action to like activate. You're using action to deploy it because you're not playing the card. And so when played is when you're actually playing cards from your hand, or even like I guess from the discard pile. And actually talking about on the board though, you obviously with Smuggle now you can play cards from your resource as well.
Indeed.
But you're still playing the cards because the card is not the card it is because it's a resource until you smuggle it in. So unless it's face up.
Yeah. Well, I mean. Yeah, sort of. And if you're play like the Stolen Land Speeder is also played from the discard pile, and that's still being played. and it also enters play, but it is being played.
Yes, yeah.
So, but it's a weird distinction to make linguistically, but it makes sense rules-wise.
Yes, no, definitely, yeah. Cool.
So let's do one as a bit of a quiz for Jason, because that's fun.
Yeah.
So player 1 has a crate dragon out, as well as another unit. Player 2 plays a ambush unit. Let us say Bosk. He wants to attack the other unit. What happens?
What does he bring out, Bosk?
Yeah, let's say it brings out the Bosk and says he wants to ambush into the other unit.
The other unit.
So does the crate dragon trigger and kill and do the damage potentially onto Bosk, killing him before ambush is triggered?
Now, the crate dragon's wording. Let's remind ourselves of the crate dragon's wording, especially for those who are not there. I'm just trying to look to my copy of the crate dragon here.
Well, crate dragon is a 9-cost 10/10 with Overwhelm. It says when an opponent plays a card, you may deal damage equal to that card's cost to their base or a ground unit they control. And for the purposes of this mind experiment, Bosk says ambush, which is what's relevant, and ambush says when played, you may ready this card and attack with it. Attack a unit with it.
Yep. I would say the crate dragon can deal the damage first because that is in because you're paying the cost, and it's the paying the cost to play the card that happens before the ambush happens.
That's a very interesting take. Yeah, you are wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought I would be, but because my other thought was that then maybe the active player would then choose the order that things would happen, so that he'd be able to attack with the ambush before the crate dragon can do his damage back.
Yeah, and that's more where we're winding up here. So essentially what will happen is, and a lot of people think it's the way you said, that's like the crate dragon is there, it goes boomba, because it's a crate dragon, it's scary. However, when you play a card, all when played effects are triggered at the same time. Yep. You have one instance where when played triggers happen. Then the card resolves fully. In this case, that would mean he is put into play. He is now a creature that exists on the board. Then, since these two when played triggers, because both of them are actually when played triggers, one of them says when an enemy plays, and one of them says when you play, but both happen at the same time. The active player gets to order these as they choose. This means that the ambush can go through first. He can attack this other unit, or the crate dragon if he really wanna, and then the crate dragon triggers and can deal the damage from the cost of Bosk onto whatever.
Now, if the crate dragon has a 6 damage on it, and the ambush was against the crate dragon, and he kills the crate dragon's damage still goes back because it's still the same window, isn't it? Because it's before the battle damage window.
The ability has still been triggered.
Yes, exactly.
And the ability does not care about your feelings. So the ability is going to happen regardless of how maimed or killed the dragon is.
Yes. Yeah. So Boss could still die.
Or you could deal the damage. Well, if you're ambushing into the crate, he's still dying. Yes. On account of the 10/10 with Overwhelm. But you can deal the damage to the base or another unit or what have you.
Yes.
That's also a very important thing to remember when it comes to playing events with Crate Dragon outs. Even if you're playing the event that lets you switch target with an opponent, or switch a creature with your opponent, the card displayed Crate Dragon is triggered for your opponent. The card switch spaces, but the ability is still triggered, so the opponent gets to choose a target to deal damage to. Yes. And that could even be the Crate Dragon, because the Crate Dragon is now an enemy.
Yeah, exactly. So he can deal it to himself.
Indeed.
Because it becomes an enemy. That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of shenanigans with Crate Dragon.
So so it makes it more difficult to steal someone's Crate Dragon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just as easy to steal it. It just might get murdered or get you killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, is fair when you're trying to steal someone's wild, massive dragon.
I mean, they're
It might bite you.
difficult to do. How many Sand people died in that episode of Mandalorian?
At least 2.
Yeah. And how many townspeople died? Like none. I just noticed the Sand people that got killed more in the Mandalorian in that episode than. Yeah,
it's been a while, man. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I rewatched it a couple of months ago, and I was just realizing just like how unfair. I wanted justice for those Sand people. Should we move on?
Yeah, we could, yeah.
No, that's a really good rolling on the Great Dragon. I haven't played it many times for stuff like that to happen, but kind of clarifying that order, and that's a very important rule, I think, just to know that actually the when played abilities happen all at the same time, the active player chooses the order. Yeah, but everything is still activated, and that's kind of the rule of thumb here.
Yeah, and that's one of the parts where, as you said, this set is more technical.
Yes.
Than the previous set. There's a lot more stuff to do with timings. I like that in this type of game. It's fun to see when things happen and trying to finagle things.
Yeah. And coming from the point where we both played like Flesh and Blood, which is like an even more complex game.
Yeah,
anyway,
just timings. Everything is timings.
Everything is timings there. So this actually is a little bit easier than that. If I'm being honest, at the same time, there's still a technical thing here. If you wanna,
yeah, and it's easier to understand. There's a lot more stuff you can You can do a lot of stuff in Star Wars, but I feel like it feels fairly intuitive.
Yeah,
coming from some other games. Some things less so, but most things. But moving on to a somewhat related point, since we're talking about timings, resolving, you need remembering. This is more of a general rule of thumb, I suppose, to remember, but it relates to especially to Cad Bane, and that is remembering to resolve full cards before when played triggers happen. And this can be seen when it comes to cards like McClunky. Because McClunky is a underworld event that says something along the lines of return a underworld creature to your units to your hand, deal 3 damage to target creature.
Yes.
Unit. Sorry about
a unit of your choice.
Yeah, a unit of your choice. But it's also an underworld, so it triggers Cad Bane if you wanted to do the chosen ping. Now, if you play that, you might think, well, I can have him do the ping first and then choose my McClunky target or to see where the damage has happened. That's not quite it, because McClunky still has to resolve fully before the when played trigger of the underworld happens. Meaning you have to deal the 3 damage before the opponent chooses where to put that 1 damage from Cad Bane, or 2 damage if he's deployed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you can't use the 1 damage from Cad Bane to make them pop a shield on their 1 unit before you deal the 3 damage to the actual unit.
Exactly.
I've been playing that wrong.
It's
there
a
we
fairly
go.
easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
But because Cad Bane, if we bring him up here, he who needs no introduction, says when you play an underworld card, you make Solstice Leader. If you do, an opponent chooses a unit they control and deal 1 damage to it. And so that's a when played trigger. It says when you play.
Yeah. So the full event.
First you play it, it's triggered before the card resolves, but then the card resolves, and then you resolve the trigger. So that's as you said, like with shields and stuff like that, it can make a massive difference. Or if the opponent has 2 4-health creatures out and they ping what you want them to ping 1, and then you can kill with the other 3 damage. They choose you can't do that. You do 3 damage to 1, and they ping the other.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. That's if you can kill 1, so that the 1 damage has to go on their last creature. Then that's really good.
Indeed.
That's a good one. That's one that I didn't know.
We are learning together.
We are, indeed. It's like weird episode of Sesame Street, this.
Sesame Street with lightsabers. Let's do it. That probably already happened.
A lightsaber. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Oh no. Let's not do that.
Awesome. Cool. Next, should we talk about the next one? I mean, that is a really, really big one, because that's not always the... that's not always clear. So
yeah,
resolve, especially with events, resolve the full card before the when played triggers on the board are resolved. Yeah.
Indeed. And I'm going to remove that from my list now because we've spoken about it, so I don't bring it up again. But new Boba is cool. New Boba is green-white, and he likes keywords. He lets you, as a when-played trigger, give a unit +1/+0 when you play a card with a keyword. And a keyword is any card, any text that is red, essentially.
Yes.
So bounty and
raid.
ambush and smuggle. Smuggle does count.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It does have to have it as an ability. It can't reference other cards having it. But as long as it actually has that ability, it triggers. This also works with conditional keywords, such as there is a red card. There's several red cards actually that has raid 2 if there is another red card out.
Yeah, it's the troopers, like 2 tubes. And partisan.
Yeah, well, not 2 tubes, but the insurgent. But there's also one in the new set that is like a animal of some sort.
Yeah, there's red 3 that gives everything raid 1.
Yeah, so if you have a card out, if you're playing a card that will be given this conditional keyword, and like it's fulfilled everything it needs, then during the when played window of Boba, we'll see that the creature has that keyword, and it will work.
Yeah.
Even if it later might disappear.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's something I've had that question pop up a couple of times during our local play.
So for example, with ECL Energy Conversion Lab, and it gives ambush for this round.
Yep.
So it gains the +1 for this round, but then it loses after the end of the phase, the action phase, or the end of the round. It loses the +1 because it no longer has the ambush.
Well, no, the ability from Boba buffs something until end of turn with +1. It doesn't even have to be the unit you played. It can be on something else that doesn't have a keyword.
Okay.
However, on the flipped side, Boba does give everything with keywords +1/+0.
Yep.
So in that situation, yes, it would lose it once it loses its keyword.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I don't know why I struggled to say that, like to put words out that made those noises that made that sentence come out of my brain.
Talking is hard.
But here
it's your second language. I'm forcing you all to speak in English. What can I? I can't expect much. It's all good.
Yeah, it is what it is. Look, man, I've been working all day. Words are hard.
Yeah, Swedish has ruined my English as well. There are so many times I cannot think of the right English word, and I have to go with a Swedish word and break down the Swedish word to then remind myself what the English word is.
Yeah.
Sweden has ruined me. Like, the Swedish language is beautiful.
We have
when
improved
it's sung.
you.
The Swedish language is beautiful when it's sung, but it's a pain in the ass to actually learn and speak in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, we all make some sacrifices, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've said some inappropriate things to my mother-in-law because of Sweden, because of the translation issues as well. But that's a story for another day on a completely different podcast. Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah,
yeah. I have heard that story. It's not for the faint of heart.
No, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So moving on to something that kind of seems to go against everything we've said so far, which I think is very fun. There is a blue-black card that costs 7. It flies. It's in space. It's called First Light.
Oh, I love it.
The headquarter of the Crimson Dawn.
I love that card.
It is a very fun card. It's a 4/7 with grit, and each other friendly non-leader unit gains grit. That bit makes sense. I don't think that needs to have much discussion. What is very interesting, however, is the smuggle. Specifically, the smuggle cost of 7 blue-black, deal 4 damage to a friendly unit. Now, we're used to, as we said, when played effects. They happen after the card comes out.
Yes.
This might read to some as a when played effect, but it is not. It is a cost. And as we are reminded of by the core rules, costs have to be paid before the card is actually played. That's how buying games work. And so, if you don't have a unit out, you cannot play this card from Smuggle. Because this card, in order to be played, must deal 4 damage to a card.
It must deal 4 damage to...
Yes. It is a cost. Deal 4 damage to a thing.
So it's not even a May or anything like that. It is
You deal 4 damage to a friendly unit. If you have not fulfilled that requirement, you have not paid its cost. Thus, it does not come out. It also cannot target itself. Most when-played effects, like the yellow spaceship that bounces a friendly unit, targets itself when it's played, right? It bounces itself up the hand. It's really annoying. Mm-hmm. This doesn't do that. It doesn't deal damage to itself because it has yet to enter play when the cost is paid.
Okay. So if you do not have any units on the board, there is no first light at the end of the tunnel.
Not if you're playing it from Smuggle.
Not if you wanted to smuggle it in. Okay.
Indeed. However, if you have a different first light out, and this moves into a different rule that people have talked a lot about, and you can play it, deal 4 damage to the other one, and then just kill either of them.
Yes.
Because they are unique units, so you can only keep one out. But if you deal damage as a cost before the first card is played, which means the other one is still in play, and so it can deal damage to itself, kind of, the other.
Yeah, it can deal damage to the other one, and then you can either
pick which one of them you want to die.
Yeah, which in the same in one way you could just pick the new one because you've already damaged the other one to give it the grits and give it the boost.
Yeah,
on the
but
grits.
Then again, maybe you've already attacked with it and you want to keep it alive or whatever. Is it gonna happen a lot? No. Is it a possibility? Yes. Do it if you wanna. No. Show off your rules knowledge to your friends or something.
Yeah. And people go, "Where did you learn that?" Well, I listened to a great podcast, the Nordic Takedown podcast, and
you almost called it the Nordic Keyforge.
I did. For those of you who aren't in the recording conversation here, it took me 3 or 4 takes to start this podcast because I keep on wanting to call it the Nordic Keyforge podcast, which was a really good podcast, by the way. If you go play Keyforge,
you did good. We're proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Cool, excellent. We crossed that one off the list. First light has been done. So should we move on to smuggle? Because this is something that I go like when you smuggle a card in, can you use the card you smuggle in to pay for itself?
Yes, you can. That's a very simple answer. The answer is yes. But I mean, one of the reasons why I put this here is because I wasn't sure about this when we were playing, so I actually just quickly looked it up. It's not immediately obvious when you're looking at like the quick start rules or whatever. At least it wasn't to me. Maybe I'm just being stupid. That happens sometimes. I'm known to make mistakes. But yeah, I got a bit confused by that, so I looked it up and I put it on here because we can all laugh at my mistakes. Any time you smuggle a card, it can use itself to pay for that cost. So you don't need to pay essentially 1 extra by having it come in tapped.
No. However, if you make the mistake of not using the card you're smuggling to pay for itself, the card that you're replacing with comes in exhausted, so you can't go back on that. So essentially, if you don't, you lose a resource if you don't use the card to pay for itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And it changes. It also means that if you have 7 resources and you have a 7 cost smuggle card, you can still play it by just tapping itself and then everything else.
Yeah. Keeping on smuggle as well. I did hear from another podcast I listened to this week that when you have 0 cards in your deck, you do not have to, when you smuggle something in, you do not have to try and replace it from your empty deck and deal yourself the 3 damage because you can't draw a card. You can choose to. Obviously, you don't.
That force you to draw cards, or that wants you to draw cards or look at the top deck or whatever, just sort of stops existing.
Yeah.
If you don't have a deck, rather than force you to take damage. This is not a game where some games do have that, where it's like, I'm gonna force you to draw 4,007 cards and you'll explode. And I'm like, no, that's not happening here. But it also has, like, I guess, some problems with that. But Reinforcement Walker, which I actually wrote up here, which in the beginning of set 1, that was the conversation where, like, if Reinforcement Walker is out, it's the green 6/9 for, I believe, 8. That basically says when played or on attack, look at the top card of your deck. You may either draw it or discard it and heal 3 damage from your base. And a lot of people thought, well, we have a rule that says do as much as you can. Well, you can't look at the top card of your deck. You can't discard the top card of your deck. You can't draw the top card of your deck, but you can still heal 3 damage from your base. That part is still there. But the devs did, in fact, clarify that no, since the effect that to look at the top card of your deck fizzles, none of the other parts can trigger since they are dependent on that phrase.
Yes.
Most people have figured this one out by now, but I'm still going to mention it real quick because it is still relevant. Reinforcement Walker is very much still a played card. It's amazing. So
no, definitely, yeah. Because essentially that the drawing, the looking at the top card of the deck and making that to make that choice, that is the cost to the effect of either drawing that card or dealing the damage. So the cost is being able to actually have the card on there that you can look at to draw.
Yeah.
Excellent, yeah.
So, moving back a bit to what we were talking there with, like, First Light replacing itself. Obviously, the rules say that unique cards are not allowed to be... You cannot have 2 of the same unique cards in play. You can't have 2 copies of the same unique card in play at the same time on your side of the board. However, there's been some discussion, such as, like, with Snoke specifically as a good example from the new set, where would there be, because Snoke essentially has a aura of everything gets -2/-2 on the board. I believe it might be, it's probably enemy. I'm kind of speaking out of my ass right now, but I believe it is enemy. Indeed, each enemy non-leader unit gets -2/-2. And so there was a discussion around, will that mean that during the moment when you are playing the second Snoke, will that mean will the enemy units have -4/-4, and thus maybe die, because that's how having -4 HP works sometimes. The answer is no,
because they're not actually existing at the same time.
Yeah, essentially what happens is you play the card, you trigger when played abilities. One immediately dies; it never touches the board, or if it touches the board, the other one is already gone by then. You trigger all the when defeated abilities, and then you resolve the when played and then the when defeated. Which means that you can still use this to play around because you choose which copy you kill. So let's say you have a K2SO on the field that you want to kill. Because you want to deal 3 damage. Well, you can play one and you can kill it and it dies. Or if you have a Luke out but you really need to give something -6/-6 and you play another Luke, well, you could choose to kill the newly played one and just attack later with the other Luke.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I learned after an amazing play that I did on Karabast one day, where I had to really plan hard around, because it's like, well, I want to attack with Luke to kill him, and then I've got another Luke in hand that I'm planning to do that, but I have to do this, play that one later, so I had to, like, even time more complicated timing, so that I could still attack with Luke, and I could have just made it more simple just by dealing the -6/-6 and keeping the Luke that was out there. But that's something which I know not everyone knows as well. So when you're playing 2 of the same card, that you can, once you played it, you can choose which one to just defeat.
Indeed.
After paying its cost, and then the effects still happen. So essentially, with a K2 into K2, you can play the new one and destroy that one completely if there's damage on there to do the 3 damage for the new one, and then attack with the K2 that's on the board and do another 3 damage, because he's maybe already got 3 damage on it.
Exactly. That is indeed a play you can make.
That is a good play. Cool. Well, thank you for clearing that one up. I didn't even consider it with K2.
I bring ideas to the table.
You do.
And I guess in the whole most of these rules, as you've probably noticed by now, is timing.
Yes.
Another one would be Han Solo, the new Han Solo, who can, if he so desires, use an action to play a card from his hand, a unit from his hand, paying one less for it, but dealing 2 damage to it. And this is not a when played effect, so that damage happens before when played effect happens. You resolve the entire effect of the card. You play the card, you deal damage to the card that you have played, then you do when played effects. Shielded is a when played effect. So if you play a shielded card with Han Solo, that card will come in with 2 damage on it and a shield on top. The 2 damage will not pop the shield.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But if it's only yeah. And that's why I think there was the big conversation, like, you know, can this work with the Stolen Land Speeder?
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas actually that didn't work because it would be insanely strong if it did.
The Stolen Land Speeder dies and...
the Land Speeder would die and then go from your discard pile first.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And I do have one short one written down, which is also a Matt is wrong one. Because when we were looking at spoilers, I mentioned, hey, Kylo's tie looks cool. Theoretically, you should be able to play it up again if someone kills it the turn it comes out, because I can't see anything that says something else. I was wrong. That's not how that works. They clarified very, very, very early on that a card that is played is considered a new copy of itself, and as such loses any and all such abilities. It no longer essentially remembers being put in the discard pile once it has been played. Kylo's tie, obviously, if it's discarded from hand or deck,
and then you play it, and then it gets destroyed.
You can play it for free. Then you play it, it gets destroyed. It's a new card now. It's not the same card.
No.
It just looks like it and feels like it and smells like it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yes. Yeah. Even though it physically is within the game, it is no longer the same entity.
Indeed. So that's another one of those Matt is wrong. It turns out I'm not infallible. I am learning the game as we're going. I may be the one doing the rules sometimes, but I didn't write them.
And we have rules updates and rules clarifications from the designers for that.
They've been great with that. Yeah, and they also have one of the designers is very active on Twitter to clear up when there are some big questions. So it's very appreciated that FFG actually takes the time to go like, hang on, you're doing this wrong, so that we stop.
Yes, exactly, yeah. That's Tyler, isn't it? That he's...
I do not remember.
Okay.
I'm too bad with names.
If you follow any of the designers on Twitter, follow Tyler Parrott, because he also... I'm following him, and just like every now and then you get like a one post, and he just clarifies, and he just like talks about the design space that they had on that card, and you know how they designed it. For example, Finn, people talk about maybe Finn's not that strong, but then the other option was that actually made him too strong when they play tested, so they had to nerf him because he would have been too strong. Really interesting person to follow.
Absolutely,
yeah. I cut you off. Carry on.
No, it's perfectly fine, man. I only have 2 things written down left. Maybe that's 13. Maybe I did bad math. The first one in my paper says choose effects, and what I'm thinking about here is there are most cards when they resolve from the top to the bottom. So if there are several things happening, they happen in the order that they are written. However, if you have a list of options, it might be the set 1 double colored legendaries like Cunning, Vigilance, etc. Where you get to choose 2 options. It could be Poe Dameron, who has on attack discard any amount of cards, up to 3 cards, and choose a different option for each one out of a list of 3 options. When you are in that situation, you can resolve them in any order and one at a time. So you don't have to go to Poe and go like, okay, let's actually go to Poe and look. Poe SWU.
So you're choosing the options.
You don't have to do the first option. You can, the first option is deal the damage to the unit, the second one is defeat an upgrade, and the third one is an opponent discards a card from their hand. But you can go first they discard and then you deal 2 damage, or first you defeat an upgrade and then you deal 2 damage, or first deal damage and then discard a card. You can do whatever your heart's desire.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to cards like Cunning, you also wait. Like obviously with Poe, you discard any amount of cards, but you make one choice and then you resolve it, and then you make the other choice. Same is true with Cunning. So you could, for example, bounce a card with Cunning and then have them discard one card, or you could see what they discard and then choose whether or not you want to bounce something or you want to buff something, for example.
Yes.
So you don't have to make the choice immediately.
No, but yeah, so you resolve the whole choice, and then you make your second choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just like go like, I don't want to do the first one, I don't want to do the second one, but I do want to do the third one, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
Which so that's good to know for that kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just all about timings.
Indeed, everything is timings in this game, which is surprising with a card game where it's so much back and forth.
Exactly. So then we have 12 there, and we need 18 more.
Yeah, I'm not quite gonna go there, but I'm gonna go kind of there. I'm gonna go to a very open one, and that is more. It's less of a singular rules mistake and maybe a thing people forget to do. If you are going to go to a competitive level event, make sure to familiarize yourself with the actual tournament regulations. Obviously, the judges and the people there will be the ones to remind you of how things work, but there are some things in there that is good to keep in mind. For example, if you are sitting down at your table, you see that you are placed at table 7 playing against Jason the Captain Kirk. You sit down, you put up all your cards, you start playing your game against your opponent, which happens to be me. We realize after a while that I should be at table 6. We call a judge. Both of us will be punished. Why? Because you have a obligation to make sure that you're playing against the correct opponent. So that's one of those things that you might not think about. That you actually have to make sure, are you Jason the Captain Kirk? Indeed I am, welcome.
No, I'm Fun Daddy.
You are sometimes
I would never say that to someone over the table.
No.
I would
only after midnight.
Yeah, exactly. And these games, well, I mean, these games won't be going on that long, but no, I would never be saying that over the table. Yeah.
Please don't. It would make me very uncomfortable.
I kind of want to do it now. I kind of want to say that to someone. Are you Jason?
Just see how they react.
I'm Fun Daddy, yeah.
And they promptly call judge for inappropriate behavior. Yeah, no, don't do that. Don't.
Oh,
I guess rule 14, don't creep people out. That is part of the rules, essentially. Like you need to be.
Is that actually a thing? Yeah, cool.
In the tournament regulations, there are rules for that. And that was actually something I was going to mention to an extent. There are rules as to how, like that, you have to be kind to each other. Essentially, you can't shout at people. You have to treat each other with dignity and respect. If you don't do that, you're going to get screwed over. That also means that you need to have cleaned yourself. You can't come smelling a lot. Which is actually one of the points I wanted to bring up, because it's very easy if you're playing a several day event to just be like, oh, we've been sitting in a room with sweaty nerds for 12 hours yesterday. I want to go home and die, which is a fair point because your head is going to hurt. Still shower. You're going to smell bad. Someone's going to call the judge on you, and that's going to suck. Because there are rules as to you need to not be distractingly bad smelling.
And that rule, I think that rule was put into the Magic the Gathering tournament rules because people would turn up smelling in order to put off their opponent and get wins. That used to be a tactic, which is just insane. And
don't do that, and don't do it accidentally either. Like remember to put on deodorant, remember to shower, everything like that. It will be hectic days if you're doing several day tournaments, but taking the time to do that is worth every second.
Yes.
Also, it's a very awkward call to have to make and resolve as a judge. Don't put me in that situation, please. If you're coming to Malmö, I don't want to have to tell someone to please go home and shower. That would be awkward.
Yes. Yeah.
I
mean, you're welcome to use my hotel room if you need to shower when you're there.
Someone might take you up on that.
Yeah. Just
and so one of the things I actually wrote down that point for as well is to remember that you are also required to bring all your stuff, and that might be obvious to some, but that also means bringing dice for or counters for making sure that you are very clearly labeling your base damage. Even if you are writing on a note, you are free to bring one piece of paper for every game, clear, nothing written on it, and keep whatever notes your heart's desire, aside from taking notes from your opponent's deck list. You can write down whatever you want. You can keep track of your HP on it. You don't even need to show your opponent what you're writing. But if you're writing HP on a notepad, like most people like to do in competitive environments, you still do need to put counters on your base. So you need to have those counters.
And you have to count up from 0.
You do, yes.
To 30 or 25. So counting down is not accepted in tournaments as well, which is good, because I played against some people who do countdown die from 25, and it's just like so confusing, because you look up and you're looking at the damage on the base.
Exactly.
And so it's very important that we have to be counting up from 0 to the damage.
Absolutely.
Because the rules say when the damage equals the health of the base, then you lose.
Indeed. Yeah, you take damage, you don't lose health.
No.
But remembering to bring all that kind of stuff, all the dice you need, all the eventual tokens you need, whether that be plastic tokens or card tokens, that's up to you. Making sure that you can present the game state in as obvious of a way as possible. Also bringing new sleeves, not bringing making sure that all your sleeves are uniform, that there's not any accidentally marked cards. Bringing everything you need to play the game in a fair way. Remembering that we don't assume that you're cheating, but that we kind of have to assume that if something is wrong, you're cheating.
Someone will gain an advantage from a marked card, for example. If it's not you, it's your opponent.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe no one will, but it's still a marked card. We don't know if you did that on purpose or not, which sucks. So remember to bring all your stuff, the stuff you need. New sleeves, dice, tokens, obviously your deck list, all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah,
and some nice sleeves they do get chipped. I was really gutted. I spent money on the Van Gogh Starry Night Dragon Shield sleeves.
Oh yeah.
And it was really nice, but then the more I was using them, the more the edges were chipping, and quite a bit, and I couldn't use them in playing in Flesh and Blood. I think
and they will also but they'll also get looser as they are used. They might they age, they get dirty. And if you take just one new sleeve, because let's say one of your sleeves broke, so you're going back to the box and put it on in the card back into that sleeve, shuffle up, that card will be marked because it's not going to have gone through the same wear and tear as the other ones. So even if it's the exact same design, it will be visibly different. So if you're going to a competitive environment, it's worth to actually re-sleeve your deck before going.
Definitely. One thing I have noticed is that they have dropped the rule of the type of sleeves you have to have, so you can have any sleeves you want to, but if you're going to an official event that will be streamed, if you're on stream, then you have to follow those rules, like Gamegenic, stuff like that.
Yeah, you need to have official Star Wars for specifically streamed games. You need to have official Star Wars Unlimited sleeves or unicolored sleeves. Same thing goes for the playmat.
Yes.
For the rest of any event, and they have finally actually added this to the updates, do whatever you want, man. As long as it's appropriate.
Yes.
Any judge at any event can call out your stuff to be inappropriate, and you're just gonna have to deal with it, even if you just even if in your mind it's just Slave Leia, but we want to have an inclusive environment, and that means keeping a not nasty presentation.
And kids come to these events as well.
Kids do come to these things.
I think we had the pre-release. I think was he 9? I think youngest player. One of our friends' sons came along. He was 9 and actually walked away with a win that day as well.
He played really well. He was very good at keeping track of his own stuff. He had a bit of an issue keeping track of his opponent's stuff, but he had a good understanding of the rules, which was very fun to see.
Exactly. Yeah. So you may see younger kids play now as well. So keep it appropriate for their sake.
Indeed. So that was a bit of a that wasn't a rule, but it also wasn't 18 rules. But it's the point is read the tournament regulations and make sure you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Showing up with the deck of cards and hoping to play games is all fun, well and good for organized play at store level, but at bigger tournaments you need to be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's very good to go over that, and very good to just clarify what that means, especially with Malmo coming up as well, so which is a bigger tournament, and you're hearing this from the head judge himself, so don't make him mad.
I will come for you. No, I'm kind. I will be kind, but I will be judging you.
Yeah,
so there's
exactly. That. Yeah. With how much prejudice? No, we won't go.
Depends on the situation, really.
Excellent, cool. Well, then this episode has been a bit of a lot to chew on, and hopefully you listener have learnt as much or more than I have tonight, because I've definitely learned a few things. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week. Don't forget to take part in the competition if you want to come along to Malmo Game Week. On the last weekend in August, first weekend in September, because it's the same weekend. It's not over 2 weekends. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be trying to stream, or trying to set up something there. Something will be streamed. We're kind of still in talks about how that's going to work. But like I said, we will all be there. So come down and say hi. And is there anything else you want to say or add before we turn the mics off?
No, just as you said, come down to Malmo. It's gonna be amazing. Every time we do planning about it, or just Marcus mentions something in the chat or whatever, I'm just like, this is gonna be amazing. So come down, have fun, play games, throw cards at each other.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Not literally. Don't do that. That would be mean.
No, exactly. Unless you can, flick the card in a way to get it into a hat. That would be impressive. Awesome. May the force be with you all. Good night. That's it from us. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.